Setting up for the Q&A video today, and I accidentally dropped my only good wide angle lens. And now it doesn't focus properly. I asked you guys on Twitter and also in my last video for some questions because I needed a filler video because I'm still waiting on 2 more packages before we film the haul video. I'm actually staring at a bunch of boxes right now. So, first question up, how long does it take to make a video? Especially editing. This really depends on the type of video I'm making, right? So for example, like a Q&A video like this, I could probably bump this out in like a day or 2 if I really wanted to. That also depends on how much I actually want to go into the edit. But if we're talking about like a cinematic figure video, let's take Skasaha bunny figure from Alter that I did. By the way, if you haven't watched that video, I probably would recommend checking it out, at least for like the first 30 seconds or so, because it's pretty good. That video probably took me about, I want to say like 4 days or so maybe to make. A good portion of it was also this setup because I had to move legitimately everything off of this side of the room, off the walls, so I could use the brick wall as a background for the video. So, and then there's also all the reshoots. I had to get someone over to come help me shoot it as well because I couldn't really do some of the shots I was aiming for just by myself. How about an intro into maintaining figurines and wall scrolls? I have done a video pertaining to this question about like how to maintain your figures, Figure Care 101. It's a pretty old video, but I think anything I said there is still relevant till today. So in terms of wall scrolls, the only advice I could probably give is don't put them in direct sunlight. Otherwise the colors start fading. And if you did buy a tapestry that has some creases in it because it was used before, the only thing I could probably recommend is maybe ironing it out. I've heard some people do that. I haven't done that personally, so I wouldn't know. Anything you consider mandatory for figure collecting. Pick of dog for scale. That's either like a really big dog or the furniture is like super small. But yeah, this is a good question. Anything I consider mandatory. Money. Okay, in all seriousness, probably, I don't know, like something to dust your figures with, because dusting is a pretty important part to maintaining your figures. So any Azur Lane girls / skins you would like to see a figure of that hasn't been done yet. St. Louis in her China dress, that'd be a dope figure. South Dakota in her dress skin, that'd be dope. Who's among your top 5 Azur Lane waifus? Okay, this is a pretty hard question, because there's a lot to choose from. Taco, Azuma, St. Louis, South Dakota, Belfast. I could have put Bremerton as well. Oh my god, it's hard. How do you feel about anime figure collections that have themes? Like collections that revolve around bunny figures, collections that have figures with a certain color theme, pose, art style, or type? Nothing really. But am I gonna have negative feelings about that kind of stuff? Nah, not really. If you only have a bunny figure collection, congrats to you, you're super cultured. A figure collection's a figure collection at the end of the day. Thoughts on how to pick and choose the right figure to suit the theme as a collection and decoration. Sometimes I find it a little bit of a struggle and conflicting to pick up a figure that are out of the theme, but they look too good. I'm a person that doesn't really pick up figures based off themes. It's whatever. If I think the figure looks nice and I like the character, I'll pick it up, right? So I don't know, like, what do you mean? Like, are you a person that only collects Christmas themed figures and you're worried about picking up a non-Christmas themed figure? Who knows? My advice is if you like the figure, pick it up. Thoughts on the prices of anime figures these days? Great question. Now, over the last couple of years, I feel like anime figures have been going up in price steadily, but that could just be my misconception because I've started to buy more expensive figures. I feel like in conjunction with all the regularly priced figures, manufacturers have started making a lot more, and there's a lot more expensive figures to go around. But I feel like as of late, since the yen is depreciating, manufacturers are trying to recover from that loss, and they're bumping up their prices. A good example of this is Kobakia, right? They recently put up Arterial Ruler for 22 or 24,000 yen, her swimsuit version. But last year, they released Musashi swimsuit version for 13,000 yen. And Kobakia, they're well known to be like a budget, good quality figure company. At least in my opinion, I feel like, the quality is good for what you pay for. Having a simple figure like this over 20k is a little bit ridiculous. Another good example of this is Freeing's bunny figure of New Jersey. There's no reason why that should be 66,000 yen, but it is. It also does not help that shipping has not gone back to normal yet. I don't even have EMS right now, so I have to deal with DHL. God, I miss EMS. So yeah, if you like the content, you want to keep this channel going, feel free to check out the Patreon page, or if you buy from Otaku Mode a lot, use my affiliate link because that helps out a ton. Thanks. Are you planning to get into resin figure statues at some point, or not interested at all? Not really. Most of the resin stuff that I've seen are usually all shonen stuff, which is cool, but it's not my thing. Plus, I think resin figures or resin statues are pretty expensive, so if any company wants to reach out and email me and send me one, feel free. What are your favorite figure brands to buy from and why? Also, what figure brands would you recommend to new collectors? I think my favorite figure brand currently at the moment is Alter, just because they make the most figures that I buy from, and a lot of them are just really, really freaking good. Good Smile is also a really good contender. You can always expect some good solid figures from them when you buy from them. Stronger is another one of my favorites. I don't buy a lot from Stronger because I never really get the opportunity that much, but whenever I do buy a Stronger figure, it's always really good. Fan Company is a pretty decent company. Kobakia is pretty decent. Yeah, there's not many figure brands I would probably like not recommend. I think the only one I would have not recommended was Griffin. They're out of business, so makes sense. But for new guys, you're probably trying to keep your budget low. So I'd probably recommend some prize figure brands like Sega, Taito, Banpresto. I'd even recommend Pop-Up Parades, but like, those are a little bit of a hit or miss now. I've been having some major quality control issues. I mean, at the beginning, Pop-Up Parades were pretty good, but now, especially with the increase in price, it's just like not exactly great. Have you ever sold an anime figure? Okay, this is a pretty funny story. Okay, so you guys know I bought Atago and Tako's Alter figures, swimsuit ones. I bought 3 of each, right? 3 Tako, 3 Atago. I'm not really gonna get into why here, but let's just say it was because of a bet, all right? I bought 3 of them, and then one of my friends actually found out that I did have 3 pairs, and they wanted to buy a pair off me. Sure, why not? So I ended up selling both of them for $150. I know some of you guys' faces are probably just like jaw dropped just now because I sold one. One was practically $150, at least for retail. And I sold both for the price of one. And especially if you consider the aftermarket prices for what they go for right now, it was incredibly stupid to sell at that price. Yeah, I obviously knew that, but I decided to sell it for $150 anyways, so it is what it is. If you're wondering if I'm going to be selling the other pair, no, I have no plans to sell them. Who are your favorite Hololive VTubers or VTubers in general, and how did you get into watching them in the first place? I have answered how I got into VTubers before in a previous Q&A video, but some of my favorite VTubers right now are Pekora, Botan, Nene, Okayu, Korone, Fubiki, Mio. I think my all-time favorite right now is Pekora though. She has such good stream chemistry, I feel like, especially with their Minecraft streams. The comedic timing, it feels like you're watching an episode of like Looney Tunes. Is there anything that you had to go out of your way to get? What do you mean by like go out of my way? Like the difficulty of it? I guess the Type Moon 10th celebration figures I had to get, that was a pretty pain in the ass to get to my house. Visual novels I bought from Japan because I physically had to go to Japan to get them. So, although I made it sound like I had to go to Japan just for the visual novels. Now I went to Japan for a vacation, but when I was there, I bought the visual novels. Apologies if this has been asked before, but what is your favorite Arknights character? It's hard for me to choose since they're all so awesome. That is true. My favorite all time has to be Siege though, for a multitude of reasons. But yeah, Siege is probably my favorite. What are your thoughts on the freeing Taiga Tiger scale announcement? Oh my god, okay, so we're getting a little bit scandalous here. If you guys don't know Freeing, they're the manufacturer that produces bunny figures. That's what they're well known for, right? So if you've ever seen a bunny figure in someone's anime figure collection, there's a good chance it was made by Freeing. I don't exactly remember the specific dates and or announcements for this little thing here, but I know the gist. So Freeing announced that they were doing a Taiga bunny scale figure, right? 1/4, and then like her little white bunny suit, and it was pretty cute. Taiga, very popular character from a very popular show, Toradora. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. And she released earlier this year, I think back in January, and I think 2 months after her release, Freeing announced that they were doing a Taiga tiger suit scale. So instead of a bunny suit, it's a tiger suit. Now, people were super excited, but also super tilted at the same time, because if they knew that this was coming out, they wouldn't have bought the bunny version. Instead, they would have bought the tiger one because it's more fitting for Taiga's character. If you've watched the show, Taiga is very much associated as being like a little fierce tiger in the show. So the tiger scale is way more fitting for her character. So a lot of people were up in arms and were like, wow, that was such a scummy move by Freeing because they tried to maximize profits on the bunny suit figure. They're trying to get people to buy both because they announced this one after the fact. It was pretty scummy of them to do. Sure, you could have said that, you know, sometimes figures don't get approval in time and you can't really announce both of them at the same time, but like they definitely could have. I'm sure there's people out there who enjoyed the bunny one a lot more, and I'm sure there's people out there who are probably fine with buying both, but I think for the majority Taiga fans, you probably would have bought the tiger one instead of the bunny suit one. It's just more unique and it's more fitting for the character. Freeing is not looking good with this whole Taiga scandal, and then also pricing New Jersey at 66,000 yen. They're not looking really good in the public eye right now. What is your most anticipated pre-order for 2022? It's probably the Okita Alta figure I'm waiting on right now. I think she released June 28th. There's also the Genshin Impact Ningguang figure. I'm pretty sure that's going to get delayed for at least for Ami because it is a Chinese-made figure, and I think they're going to be releasing them in batches, sort of like how they released Klee. So I have no idea when I'm going to be getting that in. There's also Belfast, and I guess Reimu. Have you ever thought about what will happen to your figures and stuff if you know, something happened to your house, like a fire or something? Do you think the ones in the display case would survive? The display case is either going to melt or explode, so, you know, GG. Nah, I don't really think about that stuff. Like, do you think about your house going on fire up in flames? I don't know, maybe you do. I haven't really put that much thought into it. Who are your top 5 favorite Trails girls? If it's hard, you can do 1. Mine's Alyssa and Altina. Not bad, not bad. I think my favorite Trails girls would have to be Laura, Risha, Shizuna, Claire, and Sarah. Do you ever plan on moving to Japan? First, I'm poor. And second, I've visited Japan before. Great place to visit, but I don't think I'd be comfortable living there. So yeah, plus I would need a big space because I have like so much stuff to display. So it's kind of like, Would you ever open up a P.O. box and accept figures from fans? Interesting. I have thought about doing this before, but 2 things are stopping me. First, I have to actually pay for one, which is, not ideal. And number 2, how often would people actually send me stuff to make it like worthwhile of opening up a P.O. box? So yeah, I don't know. Let me know. Thoughts on Spy Family? Fantastic. Absolutely wholesome show. I love it. Anya is great. I also really dig the opening and ending themes for the show so far. Have you been playing Kuro no Kiseki since the fan translation spreadsheet came out? If so, what are your thoughts on the game? Yeah, I did play it. I finished it. I think I even tweeted out when I finished it. I think I finished like a week after the spreadsheet actually came out back in like April, was it? I did enjoy my time with the game. I thought it was great. Good start off to a new part of the Trails series. There are like 2 little nitpicks I could probably say about the game. First is I find that there was an incredible lack of voice acting. Maybe that was just me. Like, there is a lot of scenes in Kuro that I felt like should have been voiced, but they weren't voiced. I mean, I've had this kind of issue with like previous Trails titles too, like bonding events and like the Cold Steel Saga. Why are those not voiced line? Who knows? But yeah, I felt like there were a lot less voice lines in this game. Maybe it was due to the pandemic. And number 2 is like the music. I mean, I enjoyed the soundtrack overall, but it didn't really like stand out to me among the other Trails soundtracks that I've listened to so far. It's probably the weakest. There's a lot of speculation as to why that is. One of the main composers from the Falcom sound team actually left, so I don't know if that was confirmed or rumored still. Good game, good cast of characters. I love Van, he's fantastic. I can't wait for Crimson Sin. Do you keep all your figures in display or do you put some back in the box? I display mostly all of my figures. There's only a couple that I have in the box, and the reason why they're in the box is because I have extra copies that are already displayed, so. Do you ever browse the Ami pre-owned section and do you tend to buy anything? Or do you just stick to pre-ordering new figures? The pre-owned section has taken a lot of my figure budget because I joined the collecting hobby fairly recently and I'm trying to catch up on the figures I've missed. Great question. I do not actually check out the pre-owned section on Ami anymore. The biggest reason for that is because I'll always impulse buy something. When you're first starting out on figure collecting, I highly recommend checking out the pre-owned section on Ami. Especially if you're trying to find figures that have released already and you're new because you've missed out on those figures, you should probably check out the pre-owned section. I know a lot of people are probably a little bit more cautious when buying pre-owned stuff, but when it comes to Japan, their definition of pre-owned is a lot different than the West. So I typically would recommend buying most stuff pre-owned in Japan because they take really good care of their stuff. Whereas over here in the West, you never know what the heck you're getting when you're buying pre-owned. When I first started getting into collecting, I usually checked out the pre-owned section all the time. Nowadays, I'm just sticking to pre-ordering new figures because I know if I'll check out the pre-owned section, I'm gonna end up impulse buying something. The last time I bought from the pre-owned section was the Devil Homura figure, and you know what's funny? I wasn't actively looking at the pre-owned section. Someone linked that in my Discord and I just bought it. Question, what made you end up pre-ordering the New Jersey Bunny in the end? I'm having a hard time on deciding whether to pre-order or not, so I wonder how you thought it through. Great question. It's because I make YouTube videos. That was probably the biggest justification for me, is because I make YouTube videos. Like, I can make a video on it for the people who probably aren't going to buy it because of the stupid, ridiculous price tag, so you can actually see how the figure is, right? That's the only reason why. If I wasn't making YouTube videos, I wouldn't have any justification for buying a bunny figure that is that overpriced. I do feel a little bit bad though, because I'm kind of giving Fring the A-OK that I'm fine with ordering a figure at this price by ordering the figure. So I would recommend, if you're just a regular collector, you don't really do any videos or anything, probably not to buy that figure, because it's really stupidly overpriced and you deserve better. During the time you have been collecting, have you given yourself priorities regarding what kind of figures you buy before others? Yes, I think this is probably, a lot of people always ask me for advice when it comes to figure collecting, and like the biggest advice and the only advice I could probably give you is to prioritize what you want to buy, because figures are super expensive and you want to prioritize, right? I know a lot of people out there are probably like, I want to buy a figure from this show, I want to buy a figure from this show, because you watch the anime and you really like it. So for example, for me, I like Kaguya-sama, right? Fantastic show. This season it ended off perfectly. I probably wouldn't buy a figure from it unless it was like a prize figure, because I'm not like that invested into Kaguya, right? I'm more so buying figures from series I'm heavily invested into, like Fate, for example, or the gacha games I play, like Arknights or Azur Lane, you know, all that stuff. Like, if you're heavily invested into the Kaguya-sama, you love the manga, you collect everything of it, then sure, by all means. When you write scripts, what order do you tend to organize the sections? Great question. I actually don't write scripts for my videos. Everything is off the cuff. Basically, I order it, obviously what you're gonna see when you first get the box out of the shipping box, right? The box, what's inside, assembly, and display. I think the only video I have actually ever wrote a script for was the 5 visual novels you should play, which actually took off a lot better. I might actually make another one of those. Do you ever order figures via surface shipping, and is it even available in Canada? Nope. I've been saying this for like the past 2 years now. We don't got surface over here, man. For Canada, it's either DHL or nothing. It really sucks. I hope EMS comes back this year, but I don't know, we're almost halfway through the year and it still hasn't happened yet, so good God. All right, and that is pretty much it for all of the questions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'm super excited for this upcoming haul video because there's a lot of stuff to open. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Huge thanks to my patrons Saswat, Beast, Cal Ice, Ralku, Tiso, Hentia, Fritz, Wandering Kitsune, ZZZ, and Rev.